Hello from Patina Farm. Many of you have been asking about our compost, and I thought today would be the perfect day. Andrew Beedy, our Biodynamic Consultant, is here. He's been helping us for about 9 months now, helping us to add some biodynamic practices to our farm. And he has really helped us with our compost. You can see that there are now 3 different piles of compost, going from the newest one down to the one that is almost ready to be used. And so I thought we'd get Andrew to answer some questions and explain to you what we are doing.
So essentially, like, a cornerstone of biodynamics is not wasting anything on the farm. So taking your barn scraps, your hay, your manure, and then running it through this 3-bin composting system, and then reapplying that finished material back out into the landscape. That's kind of like a cornerstone of biodynamics. So for you guys, we go from the raw material that we add, and we mix the cow manure with the hay from the barn, some mulch from when we trim trees. We'll add a bit of mulch as well, and then we'll run it through. We'll add different layers. So we'll start with a layer of the carbon material, then we'll do a layer of the manure, and then we've started to add trace minerals like azomite and some cow phos out there.
What does azomite and cow phos do for the pile? What does it add?
So azomite is a volcanic ash, so it's really high in micronutrients for plants. And then the cow phos is a soft rock phosphate, which is like a long-term reserve of phosphorus for your vegetable gardens and your pastures. So we add it to the compost because the composting itself, the process, will actually make this azomite and cow phos be much more plant available through the microbial action within the compost. So what we're trying to do is just almost use the compost as a medium to get those micronutrients out.
And I know we also added some herbs too. And what do the herbs do for it?
Right, so the herbs we add are chamomile, yarrow, stinging nettle, and dandelion, and some valerian as well, the little liquid that we make. So that is a biodynamic step which would help with the decomposition of the parent material, being the cow manure and the mulch and the hay. So the herbs bring a certain sort of wholesome bio availability of the plant material. So it brings in elements of phosphorus, sulfur, calcium in a much more holistic way, not just adding calcium onto the ground. We use yarrow and valerian that bring those elements into the pile.
Right, so it's more of a natural, it's less refined and
Sure, it's more like a homeopathic, sort of application that way.
Yeah.
Because the amounts that we use are so small, but they have such a big effect on that pile, and you can really see that going from our initial, this is probably 3 weeks old, something like that. So it's only just started getting going. And then if we look over at the finished pile, which is, let's do this one over here, the oldest one. You can really see, what we end up with, And this is where you end up with a really high quality vegetable garden, and then pasture as well. You can really see the effect of taking what would be a waste on a farm, turning it into the cornerstone of plant nutrition on a biodynamic farm, and then translating that into the pasture out there, which is a perennial rye and some clovers, and then that material is then obviously eaten by the livestock, and then we collect their waste, and we go around in that circle, and that's the closed loop. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, so basically everybody now is all about healing your own gut, but really we're healing the gut of the farm. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the sort of biodynamic principle, is that it's a system. It's
a living organism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we look after those different organs within that.
So when we look at our piles, they stay in each segment right here for 6 weeks, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then we flip it over.
Mm-hmm.
So so that'd be 3 months, so 4.5 months, and then finally in here you get to the 6 months, and then it's pretty close to being able to use anywhere.
Sure.
Anywhere?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, the reason why we turn it, you know, into the net, we build it in the first bin, turn it into the second, add a little bit more water, turn it into the third, is you're bringing more oxygen into the pile. Because that's the key for composting is, you know, maintaining, first getting the proper ingredients at the build, and then maintaining the temperature and the water. That's why we take its temperature every Tuesday, I think it is.
Yeah, so we have a big thermometer that we use. So this is our big thermometer, right? And then we shove it into there, and we want it to be about
120, you know.
so you can see it moving.
40.
So this one is going 130. So let's say this one is about 140. So that's kind of where we want it to be, right? About 140.
Yeah, 120, 140. And it can drop below that, and it can go a little higher. But you never want to go, you know, above the 150s, 160s.
And what do you do if it gets that warm?
Watering is the key, you know. So taking the cover off. So we
Right.
use these compost covers to, you know, maintain the temperature and the water, the moisture content of the pile. So these are like breathable, woven fleece, basically fabrics.
And where did we buy these?
These came out of Vermont, CV Compost, I think it was.
CV Compost.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know I'm going to get that question.
Yeah, yeah, sure. No, these are the best. These are the only covers that we use on every farm that we do anywhere in the world. It's the only material we use. So yeah, that's essentially the process of composting.
So yeah, so the water keeps it, can cool it down.
And then we turn it to add more oxygen. So obviously as the microbes break down the parent material, then they use up, you know, oxygen and increase carbon dioxide. So we want to kind of maintain. Essentially, when we start composting, if you treat it like your firstborn, then it's going to be a beautiful material. You know? If you keep that in your mind.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, if you have questions about composting, feel free to ask them in the comment section of this video. If I don't know it, I'll ask Andrew and we'll get you an answer. That's our neighbor's dog next door. Everybody asks me if we have a big dog. This is one of the reasons we don't. My fear is to get a dog that barks all the time. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye from Patina Farm.